What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Colon from House of Rasslin, and this is my review for the October 3rd episode of WWE Monday Night Raw. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you would notified when House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Man, this episode of Monday Night Raw, if I had to summarize it, I would pretty much say that this was all the White Rabbit stuff. There was some few instances in this episode of Monday Night Raw that was pretty decent and okay. But man, it's the 3-hour format of Raw and the 2 hours of SmackDown are like night and day now. And it's becoming more apparent as the year goes on and as we get further into Triple H's control over creative for the main roster. This episode of Raw, there weren't any bad matches. It just felt really, really long. Like it was like, man, okay, this is, you gotta get us through this. And looking at how everything played out on this episode of Raw and the matches, the backstage segments, the in-ring promos and stuff, like, really well done. It was just very long. And one thing that I've noticed, and I've picked up on this, man, maybe a week before Triple H took control over Raw and SmackDown, but I've noticed it more on Raw that the fans just sit there during the matches. Like, there's not a lot of reaction, only towards the end where it picks up or stuff like that, but nothing really like, oh man, yeah, let's go. It's just very, just sitting there. And it's really, for me, it's weird. And it's just like, man, these are some pretty good matches. Like, they're really, you can tell that the wrestlers have picked up a lot more aggression, or they've added more aggression into their matches, more intensity, just more feistiness. You're seeing more, man, they're just getting into it, and the crowd's just sitting there, and I'm just like, okay, this doesn't make sense. Like, this is really, like, the physicality, there you go, the physicality has picked up a lot, and it's just like, they're just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm watching, I'm like, man, this is weird. And of course, I can see some people, well, that's Triple H's booking. No, it's not Triple H's booking, because for some reason you're starting to see it in other promotions as well. Not as prominent as, of course, you see it on Monday Night Raw, but you are starting to see that where it's just like, they're sitting there and it's like, man, this is really, I don't want to say concerning, but it's just like, man, what's really going on here? Is it, because it's towards the end of the year, winter's coming, and people are just, or something like that. But other than that, I am looking forward to next week's Raw. That's going to be a stacked show. But before I get into this whole episode of SmackDown, and I'm not going to try to be too long because I don't want to be as long as Raw, because you're not going to watch this review. But moving along, let me get to the results. So we started off with Finn Balor and Damian Priest. They defeated AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio. You had Bobby Lashley defeat Mustafa Ali. You had Candace Rae. She lost to Dakota Kai. You had Otis defeat Johnny Gargano. You had Braun Strowman defeat Chad Gable. You had Solo Sikoa defeat Angelo Dawkins. And in the main event, you had Io Sky versus Alexa Bliss. So that was the results for the September 3rd episode of WWE Monday Night Raw. A lot of matches this week. Usually before it was maybe 5, 6 matches, even before, like, when Vince was controlled, like, it was like 5 or 6. But tonight we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches. Pretty good. And that's why it's, like I said at the beginning of this, like, it's still, like, I find it weird that most of these matches, the crowd was, like, just sitting there. Most of the crowd, not the whole crowd, but just most of the crowd was just sitting there, just watching. and not, there wasn't any like reaction or, oh man, unless it was like a really big spot. But then even then, like you just see in the distance, just people are just sitting there. So hopefully, whatever changes they have as far as set, belts, and stuff like that, it picks up and you get more reaction from crowd, because from a visual standpoint and watching television, it's more entertaining and you get more invested in it. And tonight's show, I mean, the way it was paced and everything, and of course the QR code teases throughout, was made it, okay, I want to see how this plays out. But man, very long, very long. I know that they want to keep Raw 3 hours because, one, it's according to their deal before they renew in 2024. They want to keep it because of commercials and ad revenue. That makes sense. But man, hopefully something gives where if they do renew with USA Network, it's like, hey, let's bring this down to 2 hours. And, if you want a third hour, put it on, on a Saturday or something like that. Because, man, the 3 hours for Raw, man, it's very, man, they're really stretching it. You know what? I will give Triple H credit, him, Shawn Michaels, and the creative team, of trying to extend 3 hours of creative wrestling, and not have it where it's repetitious, or have it the way it was before, the way Vince was actually doing it, where it was just like by the middle of the second hour, just like, you know what, let me turn. They are making an effort to make it entertaining and watchable. But man, man, they're stretching it, man. And man, if they cut it to 2 hours, I do honestly believe that it would be on par with SmackDown as far as tempo, pacing, boom, 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 the crowd into it, boom, boom, you get in there. But man, if you have 3 hours, man, you're really stretching your creativity weekly. So the first match, my thoughts on the Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Damon Priest, Mysterio tag team match. It was a solid opening match. It started off with Finn Balor coming out, giving a promo. He's talking about, judgment catches all of us. Edge, quit 11 years ago. I look forward to Edge saying, I quit. Then, you had Who's Your Daddy chants break out. Then this is one of the things that I thought was very interesting and like made no sense whatsoever. So Dominic Mysterio gets the microphone and he starts talking and he looks in the camera and he's like, Dad, I hate you. But he's saying it like, Dad, I hate you. Like with a smile, like, who does that? Like, what? That makes no sense. And of course, you will have heels that are sinister that would do it like, I hate you. Like that. But he's just like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, do not give him do not let him say anything. Just let him smirk and, hit me. Do not have him get into any dialogue because that made no sense whatsoever. He's smiling and I hate you. Yeah. I hate, like, it was not the way it came across on it was not believable. Like, it almost felt like when someone's teasing you and they're joking and it's not real. That's how it came across. It did not come across like he's menacing. He's gonna, man, like his dad is like should be concerned. Like, if I was Ray, I would be laughing in the back. Like, really? You hate me and you're laughing? Whatever. But no, this match was okay. The ending of it was, Dominic taunting Ray to hit him. Rhea Ripley clothesline Ray on the outside. That allowed Balor to do the coup de grace on AJ 1, 2, 3. Now the interesting thing that happened about this match was more what happened after the match. So Judgment Day, they're pretty much on the outside of the ring, and you have this altercation with Ray and AJ, and Ray's like, man, I'm sorry. AJ's like, no, whatever. You cost me. They shove him. Ray leaves, and then you get the Balor Club. Actually, they should be called Balor Club. You have Judgment Day. They're beating them down, and blah 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 blah. That's happening, and they're laughing. Balor's like, hey, I'm your friend and everything. So that's interesting because it's like, where's that going? The Rey Mysterio Dominic thing, we know that's pretty much going to end in either a Royal Rumble match or a WrestleMania match between Rey Mysterio and Dominic, which, it is what it is. But also with the AJ Styles and Finn Balor, like, where is that going? Because, of course, we do have somewhat rumblings and just, the curiosity, like, hey, is Gallows and Anderson coming back? Are they going to align with AJ Styles to feud with Judgment Day? Is that going to happen? Or is this leading to AJ turning with Judgment Day? Those two things are happening. So as the weeks go on, it's just like, okay, this is interesting. Like, that's more interesting than this Rey Mysterio Dominic storyline. And that's how I see it. Like, the AJ Balor, that's more interesting. Dominic and Ray, like, I think it's more because we've seen them since 2019, and it's been somewhat the same storyline. And now it's kind of like, yeah, they're here, but we're interested with that. So we'll see what happens next week. Then we get a promo that Daniel Cormier, God forgive me, guys, will be at Extreme Rules in the Fight Pit. So we got that. Now, this was another interesting thing. They announced that Daniel Cormier, there you go, Daniel Cormier, I have trouble saying his name, Daniel Cormier will be at Extreme Rules. They give him a video package. Then later on, he talks about, he mentions, yeah, I hear that we're going to have the Fight Pit. That's my thing. And like, it was like really weird. It was like, it should have been reversed, but it is what it is, man. This was just a long Raw. After the promo, you get the whole earlier tonight segment, and Lashley, he's like, I want to face someone with the same desire, and Mustafa Ali comes out. Pretty cool. I like this. It eventually led to a match. Glad to see Mustafa Ali on TV, but it seems like they keep giving him this underdog role. And honestly, he's been there so long. Like, he should be where Chad Gable's at. He should be on the same level as Johnny Gargano. He should be on the same level as Sami Zayn. He should be on the same level as Pete Dunne. He should be on the same level as, I'm trying to think who else, Matt Riddle. He should be on the same level as far as a character. He should be at the same level as them. And this match was okay, but like, it was like, oh wow, Mustafa Ali's here. He's gonna fight Lashley. All right, cool. And they keep giving him like the same thing, and it's just like, all right, this is kind of all right. We'll see where this goes. Then we get a backstage segment with Jimmy and Sami. This was funny. This segment was funny because it eventually led to them running into the Street Profits. They had a back and forth exchange. Basically, it led to Angelo Dawkins talking to Jey Uso. He's like, oh, you just got the hype man, Sami Zayn. And then Jey Uso comes back to Montez Ford. I'll give you a second boot. And they scan down and you see Montez Ford with his right foot in a boot. And it's like, oh, like, I don't remember any information as far as him being injured or anything like that. Usually those boots are like not anything severe, like long periods of time. It's just more like keeping it, stable. But no, this segment was funny because then eventually it led to Solo Sikoa getting in Angelo Dawkins' face. It's like, why don't you try that on me? And there we go. Later on that night, we had Solo Sikoa and Angelo Dawkins. I really like the chemistry between the Street Profits and the Usos, especially with Sami Zayn. Man, that dude is hilarious. This makes it fun. It's entertaining. And this segment had everything. The fact that Jimmy Uso and Sami Zayn were freaking laughing hysterical. It's like that chemistry is just like, that dynamic is hilarious. And then Jey Uso getting mad at them laughing and we got to be out of our business. And Solo trying to keep a straight face and he's laughing at them. And that whole time, it's funny. But no, this was a cool segment. This was a very entertaining segment. This was, if you could say, the comic relief, which I liked. That surprised me because Triple H and Shawn Michaels were known for pretty good comedic timing, and there's not a lot of that on this show. And on the brands, pretty much with the Bloodline, where you have those comedic elements, but everything else is just the comedic elements are sprinkled. They're not really, okay, man, here, solid, like, okay, we have in this segment, then in this segment, then in this segment, like, it's just very sprinkled, but it's pretty much left to Sami Zayn. Then we get the Lashley Mustafa Ali match. This was a pretty cool match. Very solid. Very physical. There was a point where Ali did a 450 splash on Lashley's arm while he had his arm on the rope. That looked crazy, even when they showed the replay, because at first I'm like, okay, Lashley, boom, quick timing and everything. Usually that happens with wrestlers where they just develop a timing where it's just like a quick reaction. It's like perfect time. It's like, damn, that's why these guys get paid this money that they do, because that is good timing. But man, this was perfect. I have not seen anything like that where someone did a splash a 450 splash, might I add, on someone's arm that was just on the rope. Because I'm like, something like that could go wrong very quickly. But man, that was really cool. The Lashley throwing him over the barricade, like it almost felt like as the match went on, it's like, man, is Lashley kind of turning heel? Is he almost getting there? But didn't happen. Eventually, you had the Hurt Lock on Lashley. He has it on him. 1, 2, 3. They rang his arm. That was it. I liked the match. I enjoyed it. It was good to see Ali in the match. Wish they would have used him for something else. The match was good, but I wish they would have used him for something else, because it seems like the last time he was on TV, it was kind of like a similar situation. I believe against Lashley. So I think so. And Seth, I think it involved Seth interfering when I think it was, man, damn. I think it was, comment below if that's accurate, where the last time Ali was on TV was against Lashley when Bobby Lashley and Seth Rollins were feuding last month when they fought. I believe it led to the opening match on Raw, like last month or 2 months ago in August. Maybe, could be wrong, but comment below. So afterwards, after the match, this is where things got even more interesting. You had Seth Rollins get attacked by Lashley, does the curb stomp, goes outside, sees Ali, curb stomps, which was pretty interesting because usually when those segments happen, like they go to another segment, or then there's something else that happens after they come back from commercial break and they go to backstage segment. But no, went to commercial, came back to Seth Rollins in the ring, and it's like, so what happened to Lashley? And so they just went out the ring, and like, wow, usually that's a face dynamic. So interesting. And that's something to think about. Usually when a wrestler either gets chased off or gets beat up or something like that, they leave the ring, and I don't know, it was very interesting. But they have been teasing Seth Rollins kind of turned heel, so we'll see where that goes. But then you get another great segment. Well, let me phrase that. I wouldn't say great segment. This was a good segment. Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle, they're hyping up the whole fight pit match. One thing that caught my attention when they were explaining the whole fight pit rules and everything. And I remember watching when Riddle, I believe it was Ciampa that he fought in NXT 2 years ago. And one thing that dawned on me was because they had the ring set up. So obviously they're gonna have this set up on the either by the entrance stage or something like that. Because I know they had that in NXT when Matt Riddle fought in the fight pit, where they had the ring and then they had the fight pit there, and there's a ring with no ropes and no ring post or anything like that. So that should be interesting how they design that in Philadelphia. I don't think it's going to be in the ring, and I know I tweeted that like an idiot. Now I remember, like, no, it was on the side. So we'll see how they lay that out. But man, one of the interesting points of this promo, you had Riddle. He's basically telling Seth Rollins, "I'm going to kill you," and when I do that, instead of this crowd singing, "Oh," no, they're going to start singing, "Bro," and Seth's telling them stop, and the whole crowd just starts. I love that. It's like, okay, this is pretty cool. I can get behind this. Then you had after that, Seth, he goes for a low blow. He's like, "Do you sing your kids to sleep? You're not allowed to see them. You know, child support's very expensive." Like, he just went there. It's like, ooh, damn, man. Damn. And I know they've gone there, like, low. This time I found it very interesting because, like, that comment, like, I'm sorry, any other guy, you start talking about their kids and not seeing them and child support, like, you're getting decked. Like, I don't know what, whatever that clause is, no content, like, you're getting decked. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, I was just like, man, you know what? That would have been better if he, like, said that before Fight Pit on Saturday. Like, if he did a promo leading up to the match and, a live backstage promo, and he, said, like, they had that interaction. So I thought it was really weird, the timing of it, because I'm like, no, realistically, somebody's going to, like, dude, you're getting decked. Then you had Riddle. He comes back. He's like, when was the last time you held a championship? You're always second fiddle to Roman. When was the last time you main evented a WrestleMania? He's like, oh, wait, you never did. But your wife main evented a WrestleMania. He's like, you're always second fiddle to Roman and Becky Lynch, which is ironic because they did play into the interview that he had recently where he mentioned about him being second fiddle to Roman and how he's not necessarily the guy. So it's like, right away, I'm like, man, are they kind of like hinting towards he's gonna get one of those championships? Which, all for it. They should have never put both titles on Roman Reigns, but we'll see where that goes. So it ends with basically Komir. This is where I was mentioning earlier. Like, he gets on. He's like, yeah, someone told me we're having a fight pit, and it's like it was the way, maybe, the way he said it was so dry. It was like, dude, they just promoted it earlier in the hour in the show. Like, huh? That's what I meant, where it should have been flipped, where he comes on, it's like, hey, I hear this, and then, so it was like, that should have been swapped. Like, that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, wait a minute, they just, like, it didn't correlate or anything like that. Then we get Backstage Segment with Candace, Asuka, Alexa, Bianca, and as they're talking, you get the infamous QR code. And shout out to Ryan Satin, This dude has been all over this freaking code and everything, man. Like, very detailed. Shout out to him because this is insane. So, I'm going to start. So, when you scan the code, it led you to a... Oh boy, where did I start at? So it led you to a painting with a with like a, you needed like a magic eye to read, if you guys know what the coding and everything. So of course there was a URL. When it went there, the photo, if you Google it, it went to it was a painting of Samson. Yeah, if you put the magic eye code into a base 64 decoder, which is binary text, and encode and it translates to 10/8/22, which is the date for Extreme Rules, 10/8/2022. Then the language that it was, the coding was in, was like the language from the Predator movie. When I seen it, I was like, man, this shit looked like the Predator language. And sure enough, that was it. Then the URL that appeared in the coordinates for the code, it led to Wells Fargo Arena. And then in that segment, getting back to that one, because you saw the QR code later on during a, the contract signing on Corey Graves' folder and everything. But if you go back and watch the segment with Candace LeRae, Asuka, and Bianca and Alexa, above Alexa's face, you see like a clown, like a sinister clown face, similar to The Fiend. So yeah, this is crazy. The binary code that was within this whole QR code, it came out to Gacy. So here's what I think. I think at Extreme Rules, I don't think we're getting just Bray Wyatt. I do think that we're getting possibly a faction with Bray Wyatt, an assembly of people that will form a faction with Bray, because one thing that I've been thinking of with this is when and how is this code going to be revealed, and at what time? What's the main event? It has to be Seth and Riddle, I think. But where is this going to go? So it's very interesting, but I do think that it could be Bray Wyatt, but not alone. I don't think it's just Bray Wyatt. I believe it's Bray Wyatt, but with an assembly of people around him, which could be very interesting, intriguing, and will get a lot of people talking. But I look forward to it because Bray Wyatt stuff is really unique, different. It's very trivial, where you just have to pay attention and listen. Very Jake the Snake Roberts-esque type of storytelling, where you gotta lean in, like stuff like that. Very interesting. Then after this, we get the Candace LeRae and Dakota Kai match. This was a really great match, but again, I don't get what it is with most of these Raw crowds that most of the crowd is just sitting there. There's very few fans that are, oh man, yeah. Like, it's very weird. But man, this was a solid match. But eventually, in this match, you had Bayley. She tripped Candice LeRae as she interfered. That caused Dakota to do the roll up. 1, 2, 3. Dakota Kai defeats Candice LeRae. And kind of weird because it's like you had Candace LeRae, and then later on when you had Johnny Gargano, he lost. So it's like, man, you had two people come back and they take losses. Like, all right, it is what it is. Then backstage you have Gargano walking. He notices the Miz is sleeping on a one of the carriages that they have. Miz wakes up and he's woken up by a drawing by Dexter Lumis. And Gargano's like, I'm not touching that. But it's very interesting because a lot of people have mentioned, like, what if Johnny Gargano is behind Dexter Lumis teasing The Miz? Because you could see Gargano and The Miz eventually feuding in some capacity. So, I don't know. Right now, it's too early to tell, but it does look like a lot of stuff 3 months from now around Royal Rumble are going to start forming. So I think that's something you should keep in mind. Then we get a backstage segment with Damage Control. They're talking about the contract signing. It was just hyping up like it wasn't anything major. So then we get the match between Otis and Johnny Gargano. This was a really solid match, but again, this this was more towards like the second hour, I believe. Second hour going into the third hour, so it was really crazy. But man, there was an awesome belly to back suplex by Otis, but it was kind of scary because it did look like Gargano landed on his head and was like, no, we don't. The wrestling community, the whole professional wrestling does not need any more injuries. Like, no, everyone stay healthy. Like, we want to enjoy the last 3 months of the year, and we want to enjoy Royal Rumble, Wrestle Kingdom, Revolution, WrestleMania, Ring of Honor. Like, we want to enjoy all this. Like, we don't want any more injuries. But man, that was really cool. It was also cool, the reversal into the DDT that Gargano did on Otis. Very, very slick. It's like, ooh, that's nice. But then in the end, you had Theory hit Gargano with the briefcase. Power slam by Otis. 1, 2, 3. Otis wins. They're celebrating. Now, mind you, Theory was able to hit Gargano with the briefcase because Chad Gable distracted the ref. So in the end, after this match, they're beating down Gargano. Music hits. Strowman comes out. He shoulder blocks Otis as he's trying to charge him during the entrance ramp. Then Theory and Gable running away. Strowman, he catches Gable, tosses him over. That leads to their match. Strowman pretty much threw him outside the ring onto Otis. You had Otis was sent to the back during the break. This match, like, this is where you could see that the crowd really got into it because they were like, oh man, Strowman and him and Gargano were, man, it was so good. And earlier in the night, they showed a little video package that was online about Gable was the one that trained Strowman, and they fought in NXT. So it was a nice little history package. But man, this was a pretty cool match. Then you get Omos watching backstage, which is like, yeah, Triple H, we get it. We love your foreshadowing of, yeah, we're probably going to see Omos versus Strowman in the Royal Rumble and eventually at WrestleMania. So we're probably going to see that match. Probably at Survivor Series too. But we're probably going to see that. So in the end, powerbomb, 1, 2, 3, Strowman wins. It is what it is. Then we get a backstage segment with Bobby Lashley in the trainer's room. And he's saying, you know what, I'm going to crush Seth Rollins. Next week, I'm putting my title on the line. Me and Rollins for the United States title. So we're getting Rollins and Bobby Lashley next week. And when this happened, I will tell you this. I thought to myself, I'm like, did they just give away the result of the Seth Rollins Riddle match? Because it's like, if Lashley's challenging Seth, then that means Seth probably is either winning against Riddle and is going to face Lashley with some momentum, which Seth is, braggadocious and everything. So I'm like, man, did they just give away the result, or am I just thinking it? Because like, man, that's pretty interesting that they would you would have this. Like, interesting. Then we get the contract signing. I mean, how many contract signings have we seen in the last 2 years? Like, it was like two contract signings a month for the past year. This contract signing was no different. I mean, it led to Bianca getting attacked. It led to Asuka and Alexa Bliss getting attacked by Dakota Kai and Io Sky, which led to a match for the main event. Alexa Bliss calling out Io Sky. So, I mean, it's typical, they need to do something different than these contract signings. Tweak it, format it, do it the way they did in the 80s, where they were in an office and they signed it formally like they do in professional sports, like major boxing. Like, just do something different, because this format, the way they do these contract signings, are very predictable. It's formulaic. It's nothing new. It's the same setup, same. You have a moderator, and it's like, it's over and done with. It's equivalent to the authority figure. Like, it's over and done with. It's been done to death. Like, move on and do something different. This is boring. Then we get the match between Solo Sikoa and Angelo Dawkins. I will say this was probably the match of the night. And the reason why, one, there was a lot of physicality. Angelo Dawkins sold his butt off in this match. The cool part about this was the kick-up enziguri that Dawkins did on Solo Sikoa, which was like, ooh, that was pretty cool. But things started picking up after that because the crowd got into it. But then you had Sami Zayn get on the apron, try to distract the ref, and then you get Jey getting on the ref. He's like, hey, get your ass down, get your ass down. So they're arguing, they're distracting the ref. Solo Sikoa hits Angelo Dawkins with a super kick, has him pinned. The ref still doesn't see it because he's trying to get these guys, Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, to get down. Solo Sikoa gets up. He's like, man, what are you doing? What are you doing? And Angelo Dawkins goes with the roll-up, doesn't get it. Then you had Solo Sikoa. He's just walking, looking at him and everything. Then you still get Jey and Sami. They're arguing on the outside. You get Solo. He gets out there. He's like, man, what are you guys doing? Stop this. Then you get Angelo Dawkins. He's diving on both Usos. Solo Sikoa gets back in the ring. He winds up doing the spinning solo. 1, 2, 3. He wins. So you got this little story going on, continuing with Jey Uso, Sami, and Solo Sikoa. Things are getting interesting because it's like Solo Sikoa almost lost. And of course, we know how Roman Reigns is as the tribal chief, that comes SmackDown, hey, we're supposed to be one direction, dominating, winning, that whole 9 yards and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out on SmackDown and what happens with Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Solo Sikoa, how that plays out, because you do have Jimmy Uso just laughing and everything, but it's going to be interesting. What could happen, you could have Jey Uso team with Sami Zayn in a tag team match where they have to work together. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm interested in that, along with the QR code. Then we get a backstage segment with Theory and Otis, and basically we're going to get Austin Theory versus Johnny Gargano next week for the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. Then we get this pretty interesting promo by Edge, which there was no lead in. They just cut right to it. And he just starts talking, and it's just like, okay, and the way his tone was, it's like, is he retiring again? It sent a lot of mixed messages, but basically, he's saying, I'm ready for war. I hope you are, Balor. I created Judgment Day, and that was basically it. So it's like, oh, okay, you're ready, and we'll see the match Saturday, Balor versus Edge, I Quit match. Then you get the main event. You have Io Sky, Alexa Bliss. There was a point in this match where the screen went, it was like a purplish pink. It just went pink. Maybe that was me. Comment below if that happened to you guys where it just went, because I was like, man, what the hell's this? So see where that goes. But halfway through the match, you had Bayley distract Alexa Bliss. That forced Bianca to get up. She started hitting Bayley. Then you had Bayley and Dakota Kai. They just started beating up on Bianca. They rammed her in the steel steps. Then Alexa Bliss dove on the outside, started beating them up. She goes back inside. That allowed Io Sky to get the advantage. Hit the over the moonsault. 1, 2, 3. She wins. Then after the match, Damage Control just started beating everybody up with the ladder and everything. And then they set up the ladder. Bayley grabs the Raw Women's title, stands up on it. That's how the show ended. That was the September 3rd episode of Monday Night Raw. Like I said, this was a long episode of Raw. I hope when they renew their deal for the new TV rights deal that by a miracle they shorten Raw to 2 hours, because man, this 3 hours, like, they're really stretching it. And the concerning thing about this, like SmackDown, it has its issues creatively and everything, but it's still a great watchable show, and it just goes by really quick. But man, if they continue at this pace, granted, you're gonna have people coming back, and we'll see what happens. What brand the White Rabbit and that whole storyline is, unfolded on, whether it's Raw or SmackDown. But if it's on Raw, you have that. But even still, like, man, if they continue at this rate with 3 hours, man, it's gonna be difficult to sit through 3 hours, especially the way this show paced out and everything. Because man, it was long. It was not boring. It was not this is stupid. Maybe I could see some people not liking a few segments or everything, but other than that, it wasn't boring or anything. It was just, you had a crowd that didn't necessarily, most of the crowd did not react for 3 hours until like major stuff happened, but they just didn't react. And it was 3 hours. So when you have that combination, just like, whew, man. But we'll see where this happens and where this goes as far as the QR code, the White Rabbits. There was a sign, I forgot to mention, there was a sign during the Solo Sikoa match. White was W-Y. Was it W-Y-T-T? And Rabbit was spelled R-A-B-A-T. So we'll see where that goes. But like I said, I'm interested with this White Rabbit thing. Like I mentioned before in this review, I don't think it's just Bray Wyatt. I think it's a group of people. And by group, maybe him with 2-3 other people, but I don't think it's Bray Wyatt alone. Because this is going off into different areas, and for it to be one person is like, okay. But it's leaning towards 3 different people. So it could be, and it could be more. We'll see at Extreme Rules. I'm excited about Extreme Rules and what's going to happen. And I'm looking forward to next week, because you're going to get the DX reunion, which is kind of funny because they showed Triple H, Shawn Michaels, X-Pac, and Road Dogg, and everyone's just like, who's missing? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is my review for the October 3rd episode of WWE Monday Night Raw. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification so that way you are notified when House of Wrestling drops its latest content. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that, a lot of pro wrestling this week, man. Let's have fun. I'm out.